In a previous video, I showed off the Polaroid Studio Express camera, which is a passport pack film Polaroid camera. I showed off all these shots that I had taken with it. It was really cool. A lot of fun to pull out at parties and take pictures of people. Pull out at parties and take pictures of people with the Polaroid passport camera. But it's pack film, so you peel it apart, pack film, peel it apart, pictures of people at parties, Polaroid passport pack film camera. If you do it properly, you can remove the backing of the part that you normally just peel off and throw away, and you can recover the negative. And I've never done a video on doing it. There are videos out there on doing it, but I haven't done one yet. So let's do that, and I'll show it off, and then I'll scan the negatives. So let's take a look. These are the negative portions from a pack of Fuji's FP-100C peel-apart pack film. With pack film, a negative is captured when you take your picture and it transfers a positive image onto the paper, which is what you keep when you peel the film apart. These negative pieces are usually just discarded, but you can use certain bleaching products to remove this black backing on them and recover the negative of your image. This process can be done with FP-100C and FP-100C Silk, but not with Fuji's FP-3000B black and white film. There's a few techniques for doing this. I've seen people use actual regular bleach to dissolve the backing, but I went off this Flickr thread that suggested Clorox toilet bowl cleaner clinging bleach gel. I was able to pick some of that up from Walmart here in Toronto. So I'm going to recover these FP-100C Silk negatives. I've got some photo flow, and that I'll mix with distilled water to rinse the negatives at the end so that they dry well. I've also got my Clorox bleach gel, my negative pieces, a piece of plexiglass that I'll tape my negatives to, and some gloves because I don't really want my bare hands to touch this bleach gel stuff. First, I need to remove as much of the paper material from around the negative as possible. This stuff mostly just kind of peels off, but it's best to go a little slow. There's probably going to be a little bit that remains around the negative, but I want to get most of it off. After that, I'm going to tape the negative emulsion side down onto the plexiglass to protect the image while I'm removing the backing. I've also seen people do this where they just wet two negatives, stick them together emulsion to emulsion, and then drop them into bleach to remove the backing. Taking this bleach gel, I apply some to the back of the negatives and spread it around. It will leave black residue on the glove as it starts to dissolve the backing right away. I'm going to leave this stuff on for about a minute, and then it needs to be rinsed under warm water. I was also an idiot when I first did this and tried 3 at once, which is fine if you have a bigger sink to do it in, but what you want to do is rinse the black backing off of the negative using warm water. You can check how this looks by holding it up to the light and seeing if you've gotten all of the backing off. Once the backing is rinsed, the front needs to be rinsed as well. There's like a layer of goo that needs to come off of the emulsion side of the film, and you can feel this even with the glove on, and you just kind of want to rub it off gently under the running water. After that, I put mine in the photo flow before hanging them up to dry. And then I smartly repeated the process, doing only 2 at a time instead of 3. The final negatives are quite unique with FP-100C. It's a color negative without an orange base, and the bleaching can also eat away a bit at the emulsion around the edges if it gets onto that side of the film. I also have bits of the backing on some of these negatives still, which are black specks on the negative or white specks on a scan or a print of it. You can actually go over these again with the bleach to remove the remaining spots. You just have to kind of repeat the process. I scanned these on an Epson V700 and I just sandwiched them in between some foam core, like made a kind of DIY little film holder, because it was giving me a bit better results than just putting them on the glass. The color can be a little difficult to work with on these because the negatives are odd, but some of these do look pretty good. I scanned this one as a positive and the color was inverted by the scanning program Silverfast. A couple of my negatives came out very poorly though. They're very thin, and I believe it's a result of them not being handled well after being peeled apart from the print. When I scanned this one, it has all these marks and discoloration, and it could have been that it was damaged while still wet after being peeled, and I just didn't realize it. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything that I can do about the damage on these ones, so you just kind of have to be really careful with these negative portions after you do the peel. This one I scanned as a negative and worked on it in Photoshop to invert and edit it. And I like it more than the result I had from letting Silverfast do the inversion. This one I also inverted in Photoshop, but found it much harder to work with. It came out very red, and it just took a lot of work to kind of even get it to this point. So there's not great consistency between the negatives. So the bleaching went fine. Scanning is not the easiest. They're a little weird. The negatives are a little weird to work with, but now I'm in the darkroom here at Lift. I've talked about this before, Liaison of Independent Filmmakers of Toronto, information in the description down below. And so I'm just gonna take a couple of the good ones and probably just do some contact prints with them. I'm just gonna print them black and white because it's super simple to get started and do black and white printing in the darkroom. All right, so a contact print is when we're gonna use, I've got one of these, so it's got foam on the bottom and glass on the top, just opens up, and when I close it, it will sandwich paper, photo paper, with the negative right on top, sandwiched right together. So all I have to do is get a piece of paper out, put my negative on top, and then do an exposure and see what happens. The contact prints are kind of cool, and I mean, pack film is a contact print in general because it's printing right to the paper that you peel apart in the pack, but being able to take an instant format and actually work with a negative of it in the darkroom opens up a lot of possibility. The damaged negative that I printed has the same problems as the scan, so that's not a great example, but these two are pretty cool. I do think that nothing quite compares to just the little print that you get when you peel it apart right out of the camera. Like, the color and quality of these, the Fuji stuff specifically, are fantastic, and having the negative is really cool, but the actual original print is what I love the most. I also wanted to briefly mention that when Polaroid originally made pack film, they made a black and white version that was meant for recovering the negative. Polaroid Type 55/665 was a positive negative black and white peel apart film where you could easily rinse off the negative backing for a clean black and white negative. For a while, there was a project called New 55, which offered a resurrected Type 55 style film. But it's been a few years since New 55 has had any real updates, and I'm not sure that they're still making that film anymore. That project, unfortunately, might be dead at the moment. This negative recovery process for FP-100C is interesting, and it definitely takes some practice. I love seeing people's examples of it online because there's some really cool ones that turned out really, really well out there. I'm not necessarily inclined to do this all the time as I shoot FP-100C. I mean, it does help to make the most out of a disappearing format, but the results can be kind of hit or miss. Thank you so much for checking this out. There's links in the description down below for if you want to support the channel. Also information for Lyft here in Toronto. The darkroom that I used is something that members at Lyft can rent and utilize that facility. So if you're interested in that, check it out down below in the description. There's also a couple of things of mail that showed up recently, which is why I wanted to do this impromptu kind of bookend to the video. First up, I received a t-shirt and some stickers from the people over at, I believe it's pronounced Pipeworks? Pipeworks? They develop an app for film photography related stuff for storing metadata. There are a number of options out there for apps and services that allow you to kind of log metadata information as you make your way through shooting a roll. You log it on your phone, and then you can attach that metadata in programs like Lightroom to your film shots. They make one called Cassette Nest. Full disclosure, I have not used this app before, but I will say that I do really like their logo. The branding is a lot of fun of the bird making a nest out of film. So check out Cassette Nest. It might be of interest to people who are, looking for ways to further organize film shots as they go along. So there are options out there for that. Really cute, a lot of fun. There's also a little package that came to the P.O. box recently from Nick in Manitoba here in Canada. He wrote a very nice handwritten letter that I'm not going to read the entire thing here on the channel. Thank you so much, Nick, especially for the handwritten note. I keep all of this stuff whenever people send stuff and there's like a sticky note or a letter or, people have sent me stuff that's typed out on a typewriter. I keep all of that. It's in a shoebox. I don't throw that stuff out. It means so much to hear from people like that. Nick included 2 rolls of Fujicolor Super G 110 film. These expired in 2004. The expiration date is on top of them, but Nick says that they've been cold stored since then. So I've looked at 110 before, and it's cute. It is a really cute format. I understand the appeal, so I think I'll shoot these at some point, but maybe I'll try and seek out something a little fancier than just like the little Kodak 110 camera that I used with it before. So thank you so much, Nick, and thank you to the team over at Pipeworks who have developed the Cassette Nest stuff and sent me the t-shirt and the stickers. Those are really cute as well. And thank you, of course, to everybody who has ever mailed something in or even thought about mailing something to me, but didn't get around to it, because that's super cool as well. The thought is kind of all that counts. So thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.